Think of it like I tied a cinder block around my neck, jumped in off a 2-story pier, and on the way into the water said, I think this is a great time to learn how to swim. So I spent 20 years bouncing off the bottom and getting just high enough to get a sip of air and then going back down. And over the course of time, I've learned I didn't need to swim. I needed to learn how to untie knots underwater.
Welcome to Offshoot, the Fident Capital podcast with host Kevin Choquette. Offshoot is a curiosity-driven conversation that features a wide range of real estate and business professionals. In each episode, we unpack the knowledge, vantage point, and domain expertise of our guests. Then, we move beyond the facts and figures and dive into the personal habits and mindset which allow them to be high performers in their respective field. This podcast's objective is simple: supporting entrepreneurs, fostering relationships, and uncovering meaningful conversations that positively impact business.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 31 of Offshoot. My guest today is Jeff Pensiero, founder of Baldface Lodge, a legendary backcountry snowcat skiing operation in British Columbia's Selkirk range. These 36,000 acres of pristine terrain, which many consider the pinnacle of the snowboarding lodges, offers a relatively small audience of riders some of the best backcountry riding in North America. Jeff's journey, 26 years long, starts with an itch to work for himself. The setting became Nelson, BC when he fell in love with Paula, his wife, and the seedlings of the vision popped. From an all-in bet with $40,000 borrowed off of a stated income mortgage, to amazing connections with snowboarding legend Craig Kelly and even the Foo Fighters, Jeff bootstrapped Baldface from a canvas dome and a single snowcat into a world-class operation with 3,000 people on the waiting list. Jeff's high standards and strong vision helped them weather countless challenges. His reinvestment of every dollar back into the business, which led to 17 years with little to no personal income, has created a place that's suddenly almost unattainable, with waits to ride lasting 8 years or longer. What makes this conversation particularly compelling is Jeff's transparency about the realities of entrepreneurial commitment. He's never accepted failure, and he's found trusted mentors who have helped cut the path. Listen in as we cover topics that include how following your intuition and signs led Jeff from his music major to securing British Columbia's first commercial tenure in over a decade. How Jeff went completely boots on the ground, from attending public hearings and scouting terrain on snowmobiles to buying donuts for Canadian bureaucrats to navigate the complex tenure application process. The magnitude of his bootstrap commitment, with 3 personal mortgage on stated income, then a myriad of small investments to just get the machine started. The nuanced difficulty of eventually buying out the lodge's capital partners to achieve operational scale and control, including navigating majority ownership transactions. Why Jeff's hiring philosophy centers on ending relationships well, discussing a departure plan on the day that they're hired. Jeff makes a commitment to the day that you leave will be a great day. How his management approach shifted from thinking of himself as the boss to viewing his employees as the boss, prioritizing their financial security, operational needs, and even retirement needs. How I was oblivious to what I got into, and I was never going to give up, is a mark of entrepreneurial superpower. Why authentic love, both for Paula and the experience Baldface creates, became the foundation for surviving decades of financial uncertainty and operational challenges. This conversation offers a masterclass in entrepreneurial persistence, relationship-driven business building, and the power of never quitting when you're driven by something deeper than money. I really hope you enjoy it. Jeff, good morning. Thank you for taking the time to join me on the podcast. I appreciate it.
I'm excited to have a conversation. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. And thanks. I really appreciate it. So look, Baldface up in Nelson, British Columbia. I know what it is because I've had the privilege of going there and enjoying your hospitality. But for the listeners, maybe start by telling us about Baldface and what is it you guys do?
Baldface is a lodge here in British Columbia. It's in the backcountry near Nelson, BC, in the Selkirk range. We take snowboarders and skiers for 3 and 4 day snowcat skiing adventures or snowboarding adventures. You stay in this beautiful timber frame lodge and 7 timber frame chalets. We cook you up the best bacon you've ever had and everything that comes along with that. Take you out for about 8 hours a day, get you to the goods, and then you come back and have a great time in the evening. Kind of like summer camp, but winter camp. And instead of being kids, we're all adults up there.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And how does one get into this business? I mean, in the real estate sense, you're a hospitality business, but you have to be the most boutique and most sort of esoteric version of a hospitality business where you have all of the infrastructure, but I don't know, what is your whole season? 16 weeks of hosting guests, something like that?
Yeah, 14 weeks, really.
14 weeks, yeah.
Yeah.
So how does that all come together?
Well, how does it all come together? This will probably take 2 hours to get through this, but I'll try to streamline it. I mean, I had a real passion for snowboarding through college. I went to Colorado State and started snowboarding quite early in the snowboarding life.
That's Fort Collins, Colorado State, Fort Collins.
Yeah, I was at Fort Collins, and we used
Okay.
to drive to the Front Range, and a couple friends had some snowboards, and we would hike and do like road laps because the ski resorts didn't let us go there.
Oh, yes.
And
This is back when snowboards were illegal.
right. We
Yes.
were pirates. And it's a really fun feeling. And I grew up with a skateboard in my hand a lot of the time, so I skied as well. Have skied since I was 3 years old, and so started getting into it. Was a music major in college, ended up transferring to Sierra Nevada College in Incline Village, where they had a ski business management program, kind of an interesting, really specific version of a hotel, restaurant, resort management degree. And started working for K2. And working for K2, they started making snowboards. So I was the wax kind of tech nerd guy for all the pro races and collegiate races. And then I do the snowboarding stuff on the side. And as snowboarding started growing and getting crazier and crazier, I helped get the snowboards from the ski shops into the skateboard and the surf shops in California and up the coast. And man, that was a fun job and a really fun time to be a part of snowboarding, and met some lifelong friends that I still come out to the lodge now. So I was doing that. As snowboarding got bigger and bigger, I realized, a commission-based sub sales rep job kind of had its downfalls. And I left and I started working for a much smaller company. That was super cool because I got to help grow that company by bringing on a Japanese distributor, a South American distributor, working with reps all over the United States, Canada. And I ran a sales force there. That company was called Glissade Snowboards out of Chico, California. And then a small clothing company called Soup Kitchen out of Ashland, Oregon. And it was really cool to work with those founders and help create, like a pathway for them to be able to sell their products, through a rep and a distributor system. It was really cool. I learned so much. But again, the same thing kind of happened where it was like the better the company was going, the less they really wanted to pay me. Like you have the best year ever and they're like, let's talk about this commission we're paying you,
You're making too much.
Yeah. And I get it. And so at 27, I was like, I think maybe I want to start my own company because I know if I blow it, I can do this sales rep thing and I love it. And I really enjoyed driving around, the West Coast. I knew that was there for me. And so I was like, I'm going to start my own business. And I really put a pause on my life. I was in love with this girl down in Tahoe, and we were, really tight. And she left, and we broke up, and she went to India to go study yoga and just kind of do the India thing. And I found myself with some time. So I became guy with truck in Lake Tahoe, took out an ad in the back of the newspaper. I would drive around fixing people's gutters and buying them groceries and putting their water ski boats in the water and just being a good guy, and met a lot of really amazing entrepreneurs who had like lakefronts in Lake Tahoe.
Nice.
And got some really great mentors in that process. And then Long, I'm trying not to give you the super long story, but
Hey, we got time. Take your time.
ended up saying, I got to do this heli ski thing one time in my life, before I blow it. And I called like a bunch of heli companies up in BC because a friend of mine was a photographer and had done this trip up in Revelstoke and was raving about how amazing it was. And I had always fantasized about it. But it was like $4,000 or $5,000 to go to one of those places. So I called them all and I'm like, hey, I'm mobile. Anybody breaks their ankle or can't ride or something comes up and you got a last minute deal, I'm your guy. Like, please give me a call. I really want to experience this. And sure enough, I got a call from one and I think it was $1,700. And I drove up, and I went and it was like, it was going to be the greatest thing I've ever done. And I got there and it really wasn't that rad. It was like kind of a bigger dude with a bigger attitude was the guide, and he was kind of running the place, and he was kind of a, for lack of a better term, kind of a big dick,
Mm-hmm.
and it was all skiers, and they were like making fun of me the whole time, cracking dumb snowboarder jokes, and kind of like you had to go like right next to the guy's track, right next to you. Their perfect ethic was like 11 perfect tracks matching each other, like synchronized skiing down the slope. And I was like, nah. And I'd like cut over and find a little cliff and jump off it or try to air a little wind lip. And then they'd yell at me down at the bottom and blah, blah, blah. And they didn't really explain that, there were definitely safety concerns. And I wasn't really aware of a lot then that I am now, but I was definitely a bit of a rebel and was like, I didn't come up here to just match a bunch of skiers' lines down flat terrain. Like we would fly up to these sweet mountains and then land in the like wimpiest place and like take the sissiest line down. And I was like, what? I want to go up there, So long story short, I ended up that girl's dad was on that trip through a wonderful turn of events. And we talked and he's like, Paula's back in this little town in the interior, Nelson. She took a job as the newspaper editor there, and you guys were so good together. You should go over and say hi and blah, blah, blah. And so I ended up through talking with a good friend, making a turn and drove over to Nelson to see Paula. And the second I saw this gal, I was like, oh my God, she's my, wow,
That's awesome.
So we kind of reconnected and I drove back down to Tahoe and all of a sudden I had these ideas starting to go in my head. Oh, British Columbia is pretty nice. And that town Nelson's awesome. And Paula's there and fat ski guides don't know what we want to do. I'm ended up, got to a truck and I'm drinking a beer and having a pizza at my friend's pizza place in Tahoe. And I kind of related all to him and he looks at me and he's like, yeah, that heli skiing's one thing, but have you ever been cat skiing? And I'm like, nah, I heard it's kind of dumb. I don't know. And he's like, man, I've been trying to get into this place, Selkirk wilderness skiing for like 5 years. It's just sold out every year. You go, that Nelson area, it snows so much that there's no heli skiing because they can't fly. It's just POW all the time. It's the Powder Triangle. And he explains it to me. I'm like, wow, thinking. So one thing kind of leads to another. And I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to drive up. I'm going to drive up to Nelson and go see Paula and like, see how hard is it to start a heli operation or a touring operation or a cat like what? I got a ski business degree. Like my mindset was like, why not try this? Why not me? I love
it.
And so up to Nelson I went and, Cupid shot his arrow into me and Paula and we really reconnected. And Fraps, the guy with the pizza place, he really understood F&B and Fraps was just a bulldog of a human being and started putting one foot in front of the other. Had the pretty girl in town who was a reporter and she would go in and talk to the government officials and they were more than happy to talk to her about the state of backcountry skiing and commercial tenures in British Columbia. Me and Fraps were kind of working, like trying to figure out what the 10-year application process was. No one had applied for a new operating permit for like a decade when we showed up. There was actually a moratorium on it. So we showed up at a really bad time. But we started knocking on doors and making relationships. And man, when I look back on it, it was just like we were the right guys in the right place at the wrong time. But we were not gonna quit, you know?
And the tenure I've had explained to me last time I was up there, but maybe explain that I know
So,
it's just slightly different Canadian kind of language.
yeah, so tenure just means you have it's actually not a tenure, and it's not 10-year, it's tenure.
Yep.
And what it is a license of occupation on a large piece of land that allows us to be the exclusive recreation people in that area.
And is that
So
similar to the ski resorts in the States with the national forest?
similar.
Okay.
Similar, except in British Columbia, like the crown owns all the land that would be BLM or Forest Service or park lands. All of it is called crown land up here.
Okay. Okay.
So if it's not what we call fee simple, privately held real estate where you can, build things on just like a regular house, it's crown land. So everything outside of fee simple land is crown land, and you need to get a license to operate. And that's logging companies, mining companies, commercial backcountry. Anyone who uses public lands needs to get a license to do that.
And so nobody's given one out for 10 plus years. You guys are up there, wrong place, right time, or wrong
Yeah.
time, right place. Anyway, go ahead.
And we just started grinding on it. And literally, I had a house in Tahoe that after I was a rep down there, my father helped me, and I had some money saved, and I bought like a pretty modest little home in Kings Beach, California for $160,000. I think we put $40,000 down on it. I had 3 roommates in a 2-bedroom house.
Nice.
Those deals.
Yeah.
And that was right when real estate was going crazy. And since this is a real estate podcast, and because I think the statute of limitations has expired, they had this thing that I think led to a financial crisis called the stated income mortgage back then.
Yep, totally. Liar loans.
Yeah, man, that was me. And so my house was going crazy in Tahoe at the time. Like it was appreciating, significantly every year. And I was working on it all the time and improving it. And so I would just like get another mortgage. So at first I got $40,000 line of credit on that house. And I said to Fraps and Paula, I'm like, I'm willing to lose this money and I'm willing to lose this house. But let's have the adventure of a lifetime and let's see how far we can stretch this $40,000. And let's make this thing happen. And so I started with that. Again, long story short, I did that 2 more times on the same house with 2 other banks. Completely lying about how much money I made as a fucking as a handyman in Lake Tahoe. And, my father passed away. I got a little bit of money from that and put that into it. And I just kept like doubling down on this idea. Right. And it became clear to me that, me and Paula were going to be something that was going to last forever. And so I was just all in, all in. And I kept getting these little clues, I had a Toyota R22, a 1983 red little pickup truck. I bought a snowmobile back then, and I would drive all over the province, the interior province of British Columbia, just sending it up drainages and then snowshoeing around, looking at terrain. And Fraps was like really reading up on like where there were, wildlife closures, where there was First Nations conflict, where heavy snowmobiling was. And we were just kind of like narrowing it down based out of Nelson on like where were some cool spots. And we thought like if we went to government and we went in with like 7 spots instead of 1, we could listen to them and listen to, other interested parties and really like narrow down our search by looking at multiple places. Right. And so we're working on this thing and we're grinding on all these places, and I'm kind of doing all the groundwork, and Fraps was like meeting people in government. Paula was meeting people, and, we would come up for like 2 weeks at a time and really work, and then go back to Tahoe and try to make some more money or do some stuff, and then come back up and check out this place, that. And then eventually we ended up renting an apartment here, or a little house right up from Baker Street here in Nelson. And we were like, all right, man, this is like getting pretty serious. And we did a bunch of public meetings, and we got eviscerated by, Canadians are, especially in this time, I would warn you, like Canadians are pretty tough people, and they're not super impressed with Americans coming up here thinking they're the shit. and that, we're going to grab big chunks of land and start making money on it. That's not a thing. They're very proud, and they really love their country. I can say my country now because I'm a full-fledged Canadian, but we were a bit ignorant and definitely thought we were cooler than we were probably at the time at 27, 28 years old. And we got our asses handed to us by hunters, snowmobilers, government officials, First Nations. But I humbled up and I really listened and tried to hear the difference between people venting about how they felt about America and what the real issues were. And we would adapt. And, that process was a real learning process, a real humbling learning process. And so a lot of those lessons have served me for my whole life, for sure, shaped me into the entrepreneur I am.
So let's get a date. Is this like 2000?
This would be like 98, 99.
Okay.
And I'm like kind of a little bit maybe spiritual kind of guy. And I'm always like looking for signs, and I sure see them. And I'm walking down Baker Street one day, and this ultra sick sport van with Washington plate literally pulls up right in front of me. If you haven't been to Baker Street, it's a pretty small little main street in Nelson. And like this white sport van, those were those like lifted Ford Econoline vans with like a pop top on them and like an extra tire, like pre-Sprinter vans. These
like
were
sportsmobiles.
That's it, sportsmobile.
Yeah.
So this thing pulls up, and the door, and I'm checking it out like, holy shit, what a rig. And the door opens up, and Craig Kelly walks out.
Oh, wow.
Like the greatest snowboarder of all time, the guy who won every contest of all time, and turned his back on snowboarding and competition snowboarding and went into the backcountry, became part of Island Lake Lodge over in Fernie. And this dude jumps out of his van, and he looks at me. He's like, hey, you live here? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, is there a CD store in this town? I'm driving over to Fernie. I'm looking for some CDs. And I'm literally standing in front of a CD store, and I like point over my shoulder. I'm like, well, you parked in the right spot. That's a CD store right there. And then I'm like, are you Craig Kelly? He's like, yeah. And I just reached out my hand and shook his hand. I'm like, I'm a like big fan, man. I love everything you do. He goes, cool. All right. Have a good day. And he goes to the store. And I run home to Paula and Fraps, and they're both skiers. And I'm like a 13-year-old who just met, Joe Namath at the back. I'm like, oh my God, Craig Kelly's on Baker Street. He said hello. And I shook his hand like, I'm never going to wash my hand again. If we're looking for a sign, this is a fucking sign. Like, I'm telling you, this is crazy. They're like, whatever, Jeff. And so there was this moment where I was like, you know what? Everything happens for a reason, and you got to look for it. And I'm like, I am more committed than ever now to this thing. Like, So, as I'm driving all over the province and kind of
wait. You didn't like get his phone number, or because I know you guys in future versions, as this unfolds, Craig was a meaningful part of it.
Yeah, I'll get to that. That's coming. So as I'm traveling all over the province and recklessly snowshoeing, snowmobiling, being an idiot without enough education in the backcountry, I had taken some avalanche classes, but definitely was no ski guide. We had a terrible avalanche in Nelson that killed 11 people up at a ski touring lodge at Kokanee Glacier Cabin, and it really shook the town. Really, really shook the town. And I was not even aware of what was going on. There's a very beloved coffee shop in Nelson called Oso Negro, and I would go there for coffee first thing in the morning and then out into the woods every day. And this gentleman noticed. Oh, we also would put our management plan in Oso Negro and allow people to comment on it at the coffee shop, which was amazing. Anyways, Buffrey, this guy comes up to me. He's like, what are you doing out there? I see you here every morning with a snowmobile, and you look like you're dressed to go in the backcountry. What are you doing? And I told him, and he's like, buddy, it's really touchy out there. Like, do you have some certification? Are you experienced? I'm like, oh yeah, fuck, I'm from Tahoe. I know what I'm doing. So he's like, why don't you let me take you out? I'm a ski guide, and maybe we should talk a little bit. Maybe you should take some classes, and I'm interested in what you're doing. I'm a snowboarder too, although he was a telemarketer at the time. And so this gentleman, John Buffrey, offered to come out with me a couple times, and we went out, and I started learning exponential amounts of information about the snowpack and how to plan routes and how to keep myself safe by touring with John Buffrey, who was previously the head of snow safety for CMH, who was an examiner with the Association of Canadian Mountain Guides, one of the most respected people in this field.
Wow.
And we become buddies. And I start playing chess with them in the evenings and drinking like hippie twig tea with him. And he's older than me. And I was like, oh my God, I think I found my mentor, you know? It was like unbelievable. I'm getting a little, like, I'm glad it's not a video podcast. I'd look like a suck right now. But like, I was like, I think I just found my mentor, you know? And we got along really good, you know? And so down the road we go. And then one day Buffrey invites me over to his house to have a game of chess. We played a lot of chess back then, and we talk about things and look at maps. And in his house, I walk and I turn the corner and there's a chessboard all set up and his little teapot. And there's Craig Kelly sitting at the other side of the chessboard.
Oh, wow.
And I like back up and I make eyes at Buffrey. I'm like, what the fuck? And he's like, Jeff, I think you should meet my friend Craig. I'm his private guide. We're planning a trip to Iran. I've been with him on a lot of adventures. I think he'd be a really good guy for you to meet and talk to. He's a proponent at Island Lake Lodge. And I told him what you're doing, and I think you guys should meet. And I'm like, you're kidding me. I'm like, Craig, I met you in front of the CD store.
Don't you remember?
He totally didn't remember. So, you know, Craig's like, hey man, you're onto something, man. Like snowboarding's, you know, blowing up and you're a little ahead of the curve. And I see it at Island Lake with the ski guides and the snowboarders, and we're kind of fighting an uphill battle over there. And I love Island Lake Lodge. I think they do a great job. But it is ski centric. And my idea was like, let's open a snowboarding lodge that welcomes skiers and doesn't make skiers feel bad. But let's not fake it out and make it be like, oh, here's some old wooden skis I bought in the thrift store and put it up on the wall. Like, let's put up old snowboards that we love, and let's have snowboarding guides and develop the snowboarding culture and like make a place for snowboarding in the backcountry that's like not European ethic, like serving raclette and pickles after shredding. Like I wanted it to be really like for my friends and my community up there. And Craig like was like, man, that's it. So yeah, all of a sudden I got Paula, Fraps, Craig, and Buff, and we're all like, yeah, let's do some work on this thing. And so as we're narrowing it down from those 7 areas, we kept flying over this one right in front of Nelson, and Craig and Buff. And I was looking at like huge terrain. I was looking at where Micah Heli skiing is now, where Chatter Creek is now, like these amazingly beautiful and crazy terrain spots. And both of them reined me in, and they're like, that place right in front of Nelson is the spot. All the ridges are connected. All your guides can live in town. It's easy to provision. Your customers are going to love being in Nelson. You're going to start out as a day operation and grow into a lodge operation. You know, they really saw that. And those guys really put me onto that piece of terrain. And so we eventually in late 99 or late 98 said, that's the place. We started doing a wildlife inventory, started taking more specific steps so that we could develop what we call a management plan. And that's what you send out to referral. So all the wildlife, forestry, First Nations, like all these different proponents get a chance to view it and respond to it. And then you take that, you take their feedback and kind of rewrite it, and then you put it into the government for consideration. So we put it in, and they said, yeah, we'll take a look at this thing. And just like nothing was happening. So we started driving over to Cranbrook and buying donuts for all the bureaucrats in the office. So we would just sit there because we were running out of money. I'm not going to lie.
I love it.
And we were like, we got to buy 24 donuts to just buy them for everybody and tell them who we are. And I still hear about that today from bureaucrats.
They're like, hey, you're the guy that bought all the donuts.
100%. I was like, dude, my dad, he was a really wise Italian guy. And I never understood half the shit he said to me, really, but he would say, you get more bees with honey than with vinegar.
Uh-huh.
Which that's an Italian expression that doesn't translate very well, but I took that as like buy donuts for Canadian bureaucrats, and it worked. So we ended up getting our tenure in late 99, and we were out of gas. Like no cash.
No cash. Yeah.
First guys that came on, my buddy Arlie, he's like, I got a buddy, Nate Mendel. He's in this band, and this band is doing really good. And they don't even know what to do with their money right now. Maybe I can. He's a snowboarder. He used to ride for Lib. I'm trying to make this not a crazy long story, but I'm doing a terrible job. But long story short, Nate wrote the first check outside of myself. It was like $50,000, $60,000. He got his buddy Dave Grohl to write another check. That gave us $110,000, $120,000. We ended up buying a canvas dome and our first snowcat.
Wow.
Prince George. So all of a sudden now I've got Craig Kelly, John Buffrey, Paula, Fraps, and the Foo Fighters as my partners. And I'm like, you got to be kidding. I remember looking in the mirror sometimes just being like, there's no way I'm quitting. This is too, I said I would do the greatest adventure of all time for $40,000. I'm into this thing for like $250,000 in stated mortgage loans. I've taken $120,000 on from these rock stars who were so cool. And I'm like, let's go. So we get the tenure and we're like, woohoo. But we quickly realized we didn't know anything about cat skiing.
Oh, wow.
We didn't do our homework. So, I mean, driving a snowcat is hard and building cat roads in powder is really hard. So we end up getting a young guy. He's got some experience. We start putting the cat roads in. That year was a particularly shitty winter. We used a boat to go across the lake. We'd get into a rented budget truck, drive it up this dirt road with chains on all four, get to the dome, give people beacons. Buffrey and Craig were their guides, and Mark Fawcett, actually, too, a 14-time Canadian World Cup champion. Great guy. He had his guiding cert, so Fawcett would guide. One cat. We take people up. I think it took about 2 hours to get in, 2 hours to get out. We'd shred for about 6 hours and go out. It was not the experience that it is today.
Uh-huh.
But we were trying really hard, and people really loved the grind that we had back then. Like we were literally making their sandwiches and baking cookies for them. And we would get customers by like going to the breakfast spots in Nelson and looking for like rich people that were going to Whitewater. We'd be like, you want to come try out our new cat skiing spot?
I love it, dude.
It is so funny.
I love it.
So,
hey, let's come back to like the early grind chapter with a couple of things you said that I think are really interesting. The experience of that early exploration when you're like, cool, here's my coffee. I'm going to go back on the 1983 22R Toyota pickup. By the way, I had the 86. That was last year. You could get it carbureted.
Yep.
But what's that like? You're just like zipping out into who knows where? Like, what was that like?
It was so rad. God, when I put myself back, it was just like, I just wanted to get as much experience as I could and get better at snowmobiling and better at traveling through mountains safely. And British Columbia, to me, I'm from Cleveland, Ohio originally. And my journey kind of took me further and further and further into the mountains at every step. And all of a sudden I was in BC, not all of a sudden, but I was in British Columbia with a snowmobile and a pickup truck. And I just felt like this opportunity, I needed to spend every moment of sunlight, like doing it. I fail forward. I learn every time I got that snowmobile stuck. I was stoked. I wasn't pissed. I was like, I'm learning how to get the snowmobile unstuck better than I did last time,
Yeah.
And this was like checking out these little towns in the interior, going all the way up to Golden, BC. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been there, but this area that we live in, and I've traveled pretty extensively. It's just the greatest place on the planet Earth. I can't even believe interior British Columbia is unbelievable place. And I still travel and I love coming home, and I fish in the summer and I just go deep British Columbia. It's so rad up here. And that's never worn off since then. So, at the time I just was like, oh my God, yes. Like what's today? What's next? I kind of felt invincible a little bit.
Any hairy experiences?
Hell yes, every day. Every fucking day I was doing the dumbest shit and getting away with it. And like, yeah, it was wild, man.
And those sleds were a lot harder to handle back then.
Hell yes. They were, It was crazy. I couldn't even afford the like super good RMK 700. I had the 600. that it's a joke compared to what I ride right now. And my skill level was a joke compared to what it is now. And I would just drive the sled up until I got it super stuck, dig a massive hole and turn it around, and then start from there. Just start walking on snowshoes. Like, my energy level was crazy. And I'm not going to lie, like, I drank back then. So I would my backcountry kit had like a small first aid kit, a small snow study kit, shovel probe, beacon, and like 4 beers and like a half a Subway sandwich. Like, that was my kit to go out in the day. Yeah, it's definitely not like that anymore. And I would
And
never take anybody else into that realm. But that was my personal. It was like, oh yeah, beer at the top, beer at the bottom,
I
beer
don't
for when I get on the sled, beer for when I get back to the truck.
I don't even remember when Google Earth popped on the scene, but was that a tool that you guys were?
No.
Oh wow!
We had paper maps, man,
Yeah.
and we had an apartment. We would buy the paper maps. They had a little number in a letter at the bottom, like F8211, and it would be a 1 to 20 or a 1 to 50,000 map, and we would glue them, tape them
Yep.
on the wall, fold it up, and then we would draw on those maps. Like, this area is out. This area, you got to cross 11 avalanche paths to get to the good. It's never going to be good. This one's got too much south terrain, not enough north. Like, and we just sat there. Literally, I would explore those. Once in a while, we had a friend who was getting his pilot's license. This is funny. We had a friend who was getting his pilot's license, and we were like, hey, man, can we fly around with you? He's like, yeah, I got to get all these hours flying. Yeah, like, sure. And not a great idea, but we would fly around with this guy who really was learning how to be a pilot. And we would just scope terrain from this Cessna 172, flying in terrible weather in the winter in the mountains. And we're like, we'll buy your gas if we can fly around and look at stuff.
Just get us home.
It was wild. That was wild. Yeah.
And then the other thing you mentioned, just sort of in passing, is being humbled up by being eviscerated with your bright-eyed, bushy tail. Like, what was the experience of that?
I'll tell you a good story. We went up to the Slocan Valley, and we brought the government guy, Robin Fawcett, with us. Really nice guy. And we said, we want to do these public meetings so that people don't hear about this and say, I've never heard about this. What are these guys? What is it? So, we went to this pub in Slocan City, which is it's a combination of logger mentality, and then this organization called the Valhalla Wilderness Society was founded there. And it's really a great organization that really focuses on saving untouched terrain for future generations, much in the Teddy Roosevelt, mindset.
Mhm.
This amazing environmentalist started it. It continues on today. But the valley is where the loggers and the environmentalists live. And there's First Nations interests there, and people take the valley very, very seriously. And our tenure actually isn't really involved with the valley, but since it's adjacent, we thought it would be a good spot to do a meeting. So we go to this meeting, and we have our map, and we got the government guy, and we're like, look, we just want to hear, like, are you guys snowmobiling in this area? Where are you snowmobiling? Like, how would it affect your snowmobiling? How would it affect the animals back there? Like, are there any cultural values? And we heard it from some people like, we just don't like the idea of some Americans coming up and running a business here. Like, okay, well, it is what it is. We don't like the idea of any commercial recreation in the backcountry. It should all be at ski areas. Oh, okay, fair enough. Get it. But there's this pathway here. And we think there's too many helicopters everywhere. And it's like, well, we're not using a helicopter. So, and we have this meeting, and it gets a little heated a few times, but we kind of talk it down and try to be in relationship with the people in the room. And we walk out, and the drunkest dude in the whole room, he has one eye going in one direction, and he's wearing overalls, and he's just pissed. He's pissed. And he goes right up to Fraps. And Fraps was a pretty big dude with these massive hands. His hands were huge. And Fraps didn't take any shit from anybody. He's from Pittsburgh, right? And this guy comes up to us in the parking lot, and the government guy's there, and he goes, hey, I don't know what you guys are thinking, but I don't like the idea of you guys coming up here. I don't think you got any rights here. You should be down in America. He goes, and I don't care if the government gives you your fucking permit or not, because I've been hunting in these hills 25 years. I can shoot a cougar at full stride, 200 yards. Fraps' eyes go up. He goes, if you think you're going to be snowmobiling around back there, setting up your little cat skiing area, you better realize you'll hear the shot, and that's all you're going to hear, because I'll get you on that snowmobile. And Fraps, without even thinking, looks at him and pulls his massive hand up into a fist and just says, "Don't fucking miss." And then turned It was so sick. And we ended up getting to know that guy pretty good. He was a flat deck logger that drove a lot of our equipment around. He worked for one of the companies that we ended up
Oh,
hiring to
wow.
do a lot of stuff.
Wow.
And that story kind of will go down forever, I'm sure. But Fraps was a great business partner back then. He and I were an unbelievable team putting that together with Paula. The three of us just came together and were able to get so much great stuff done. So
The other thing you mentioned is this management plan. I
yeah.
think it was when I was at Whitefish. It might have been you guys, but the wolverine was something that came up, and I realized there are some species up there that need a bit of a birth. So what does that part look like? How technical do you get in assessing all of the resources and sort of figuring out how you're going
Um,
to address them, I guess?
it's a constantly changing playing field with environment and First Nations value because they're still learning all the time too. And what was true 10 years ago is a different truth now.
Okay.
And so realizing that like nobody's trying to like there's no gotcha in any of this stuff. They're just trying to manage things better all the time. And I'm of the same mindset. I don't want to, be I don't want to be operating at the detriment to anything that was here before me and should be here after me. So we invite in the First Nations, we invite in the biologists. We actually just participated in a Wolverine, what do they call it, inventory, which is actually kind of interesting because they go find dead beavers, literally, and then they go to trees in the Alpine and they go climb up the trees with these ladders and they nail the beavers onto these trees, like 15 feet above the snow line. And then they wrap these dead, stapled to the tree beavers with barbed wire. And
Wow.
the wolverines are so and they leave it up for the whole winter. So sometimes when we're touring around, you got to kind of avoid showing anybody the freaking dead beaver on the tree. They smell really bad too.
Strapped up with
Yeah.
barbed wire.
But the wolverines will go and climb the trees and go nibble on these rotting beaver carcasses, but they leave their DNA on the barbed wire. And
Oh,
so
wow.
they can do these inventories and they can tell where the wolverines are traveling. We actually have had some wolverine in our area, but it's not a regular occurrence. It's up in higher alpine, like over, if you remember, to the east of us is Kokanee Glacier Park. And but we participate in all of those things. We are in an active whitebark pine management project. Whitebark pine is a really interesting species that the First Nations have known about for eons. And when logging, they've been indiscriminately just like hacked down because they're not like a high value lumber tree. But they've realized, in the cambium layer, there's like high antioxidant properties that are actually cancer fighting. They used to use the bark from the whitebark pine to build those sturgeon nose kayaks. So to the First Nations, they really want to see these trees, which are the indigenous original trees, come back. So as we do logging around the lodge, as we build things, we really avoid them. We locate them. We share the information. We help monitor. We help make the conditions better for them to grow, as opposed to like the subalpine balsam and fir that are kind of like volunteer trees that come in. So
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
we work with as much as we can, and we alter everything we can to make. We're just one player in this thing. I'm not there to like push wildlife out or push First Nations or push snowmobiles out or whatever it is. Like we got to all get along back there. And I live this gifted life up here, and I really want to, make sure other people have the opportunity to do the same thing for sure.
Yeah, that's cool just to be able
Yeah.
to steward of it. But is this like, in California, there's the California Environmental Quality Act, and you have to do these environmental impact reports, and
Yeah.
they end up being like, 542 pages, and nobody even reads them, but you spend tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to sort of put it on a desk and go, look, we did the EIR. Can we get an approval? That kind of thing? Or is it more
I,
subdued or
I don't know.
rational?
I mean, I just like, I think to be in my seat, I have to be of the mindset that while the bureaucracy in British Columbia makes the bureaucracy in California look like kindergarten, I promise you, this
Oh,
is
wow. All right.
the bureaucracy here is 100 times bigger than it'll ever be in California.
Wow.
And bureaucrats are a way of life up here. Over 50% of the population works for the government here, right? Like,
Wow.
yeah. So I also live in the town with all these people, and our kids play soccer together and they do dance class. And to be a good member of the community is to also respect what they got to do. So I try
Yeah.
to be I try to not paint these projects with a cynical light. It's part of my obligation to be able to use this land, to be able to be an employer here, to be able to take guys like you up there and show you the infinite wisdom of the backcountry, which is my mission statement. And if I got to staple a beaver to a tree and avoid that tree so that wolverines could come in there, and those wolverines may end up excluding me from a big part of the tenure, I'm all in. I'm all in. I'm not going to I'm not going to mess with that because I know the rules when I got into it, and I'm not going to get upset when the rules change. I'm going to play by the rules and try to be a good citizen because it's worked out really well for me that way. You know?
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
So let's go back to, chapter 1. You're up there. You've got a cat. You don't know really how to build the roads. You've got a shack. You're grinding it out, cooking peanut butter cookies and
Yep.
making sandwiches for folks. So this is now 2002?
Yeah.
Like that?
Well, this would be 99, 2000. We're doing
2000,
this.
okay.
And then, so I'm remodeling my house in Tahoe, trying to do these stated mortgage incomes everywhere, income mortgages everywhere I can. And I dug the entire basement out of my house so that I could put a suite in without permits. Sorry,
Uh-huh.
Tahoe. Speaking of TRPA. And I got this great buddy helping me out, and I'm like doing all the work myself. I'm hiring friends that are electricians and plumbers and contractors, and they're helping me out in the evenings. So the electrician, Brian, the tuna man, I'm pulling wire for the electrician down in my basement, and he is so in love with what I'm doing. He thinks it's the coolest thing he's ever heard. You crazy. He's like from Jersey. He's like, you crazy, man. You're going up to British Columbia, chase a girl. Oh my God, you're like a song. He was really into that band Hot Tuna.
Uh-huh.
Like had been to every Hot Tuna show ever. He was like a deadhead, but for Hot Tuna. So we call him the Tuna Man. So like Jorma Kaukonen was his guiding light in life. And Jack Cassidy. Anyways, Tuna Man is talking to me and he's like, man, I'm doing all these rich guys work over in Incline Village, man. You should give me your business plan. I got this one guy. I'll slide it on his desk for you. So, and we're like, Dave and Nate are like, we're not putting any more money into this thing. You're good, but you got to find like a real investor. So I'm rewriting the business plan, P&L, income statement, balance sheet. I kind of know what I'm doing, but not really. And I'm like writing this great plan. And our plan was so far reaching and huge. And he slips it onto this guy's desk in Tahoe. And I get this call from a number I didn't recognize. And I'm like, hello? And he's like, are you Jeff Pensiero? And I'm like, yeah, really direct. It's like, my name's Rob Lohan. How did you get into my house? I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, I'm reading this fucking business plan here. I never asked for your business plan. It's on my desk. And it's underneath 2 other plans that I'm working on. How did you get into my house? He's like really concerned. I'm like, dude, literally, I didn't break into your house. I swear to God. I don't know. I go, do you know the Tuna Man? And like the whole conversation changes. He's like, Brian, the electrician. He's like, oh my God, I love that guy. I'm like, yeah, he's a friend of mine. He's helping me out. He asked me for my business plan, said he knew a rich guy in Incline who like invests in weird things. And he's like, oh, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah. So end up going and playing golf with Rob. Rob Lohan had a software company that he exited right when software was booming, where he made a whack of cash. And he was really into scuba diving and really into shredding. And me and him and his wife kind of started up a friendship. And then he was like, listen, you don't know shit about writing a business plan or forecasting or anything. And literally, Rob took me under his wing and taught me how to use Excel and really like helped me write a real business plan. And then he's like, you think you could do this? I'm like, I think I can do it. He goes, okay, I'm in. And so we started designing a lodge, $3.5 million lodge. And we we said, let's go. And we hired excavators and bulldozers. We started building that road up to the lodge. We got the permits, and I started selling seats to this German company that was going to book Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, every week, all season long, to German tour groups. And I would only have to sell the weekdays to like Canadians. And I had a plan to go to Seattle and Spokane and Boise and get customers, and like everything's going along, and we're building this freaking road up there, and we're like, oh my God, the lodge is going to be so rad. It's got a wildlife viewing platform, and I put a pinball room in there and was like, yeah, this is going to be snowboarder lodge. This is going to be amazing. And then 9/11 happened. And Rob calls like 9:13. He's like, guys, I have no idea what the world is looking like, but I am not spending $3.5 million on a backcountry snowboarding lodge in British Columbia anymore. You got to alter your plan. And it was like, fuck. And then like a week later, the Germans call and they're like, we're not traveling this year. So I was like, oh. And I was like, all right, well, too late to stop now, right? So as we're building the road up there, we shift plans and we make it into a 40 by 40 timber frame building, and we get some Atco trailers. Those are like portable worksite trailers. And we set up this little village up there, and we're like, fuck it. We're all in. We built this thing out, and we open. I somehow start hustling all my snowboard friends, all the companies back then. Burton steps up. LibTech stepped up. Billabong stepped up. I went to all of those guys, was like, guys, I need your sales meetings. I need your photo shoots. I need everything to get this thing off the ground. And hustled so hard. And we opened, and it was kind of amazing. We bought another cat. We had 2 cats. You know, we literally went to LL Bean and bought all their discounted sheets and everything, you know, out of the back. Like, it was so wild, man. It was
you
so
were
wild.
you were using the affiliation or relationships with the brands to get them to do their corporate
100
retreats and other things out there.
100%. 100%, man. Deep. I went so hard. It was wild. I don't even know where I got the energy for that. That's why I look like I'm 90 years old now, I think. But grind. And, you know, the thing was, we had Craig was one of the guides. Fawcett was one of the guides. Buffery was running the thing. We did our first guide training. It was amazing. We knew we were starting something legendary. You know, we knew we were starting a generational place while we were doing it, which is a really cool feeling. That guide training, we did more construction cleanup and carpentry than we did training, honestly. It was unbelievable. I will cherish those times forever. The furniture for the lodge we bought, we literally bought off of old ladies who died, and their families were selling their furniture. We're like, oh, that couch will go up there. Like, oh, dishes, great. Like, it was wild.
So let's talk about the capital side, right? You did 40,000 3 times or so. You know, hey, no, my house is worth more. I'll sign that.
Yep.
I'll sign that second,
it
third
was like
mortgage.
40, 80, 100.
There you go.
Yeah.
So that, and then it sounds like Dave and Nate threw some maybe 110,
Yep.
and then I mean, doesn't sound.
Rob's $3.5 million turned into like 350,000.
Right. Okay. So to say you're doing this bootstrapping is an understatement. How do you manage to go from, okay, 1 cat and a canvas shack to like, I don't know how many of the cabins there are now, maybe a dozen.
Oh, the cabins were way later.
Yeah.
That was just the lodge and the Atco trailers. And so it was a lot of, I don't know the legal word for it, but just like kind of relationship management, you know? And like, I went into this town and we owed the hardware store $200,000. We owed the contractor $400,000 or $500,000. We owed a lot of people a lot of money. And I went around and was like, look, man, we took in, you know, $12,000 this week. Here's your $680. Here's your $700. Like, I went and handed out checks to everybody and was like,
Cool.
just fucking stick with us, dude. I'm not going to lie to you, but like, we're going to make this work. And I'm never going to forget that you like, I'm out of business if you don't take this check, and I'm going to be good for it. I promise. It's just 9/11, all these things. Managing relationships, man, is everything. I didn't bullshit anybody ever. I was just straight up with everybody, did the best I could. And, you know, people, respected that and gave us a chance. Thank God, because this town needed this too.
But outside of this initial, I mean, look, I can't even get to $1 million. You have a very significant operation up there. Have you just been reinvesting profits?
Oh
Is
yeah,
it just
forever.
okay?
But
Parlay,
there's
parlay, parlay.
no, there's more great people that came along. So we're I'll get back to the plot here. Sorry this is taking so long. I got it.
It's all good. It's all good.
So we opened that year. It's amazing. We got some cat roads cut. We got 2 cats. And then my buddy, my partner, my mentor, Craig, is killed in an avalanche on January 20th, the year we opened. And that was the first time I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this. He had just had his first daughter, Olivia, his only daughter, Olivia, who just graduated from Colorado State yesterday, by the way. And it was the saddest. It was just awful. And we had to keep running, you know? And I don't know if you remember that, but that shook snowboarding like deeply. And the whole backcountry pushing the film and all that stuff was just like, if Craig Kelly can die, what is happening? He was so conscientious. So I went to the memorial service in Bellingham, Washington, and I'm standing there, and Ari Markopoulos, one of the most accomplished snowboarders of all, or filmers, shooters of all time, is next to me. And Jake walks up next to me. Jake Burton Carpenter walks up next to me and puts his arm around me. And he just looked at me and goes, you can't quit. He's like, you cannot quit. He's like, you got this. And I was like, oh, you look for the signs, right? I was like, fuck. I was really ready to quit, Jake. He's like, you got this. Don't let Craig die for nothing. Like, stick with me. Call me if you need me. You know, I'm here for you. Whew. So, all right, we grind out that season. I'm going to speed it up, and we just keep grinding, and we keep getting better. And the support from the brands continues. And I'm doing full lodge bookings with Snowboarder Magazine, with Transworld, with Burton, with Billabong, with Skull Candy when they started, like big brands coming up there doing full lodge bookings. It's that trickle down from all those guys had a great time. They tell their friends. It's like, it was incredible. I went to Squaw Valley, put flyers under everybody's windows on President's Day weekend, and sold the whole lodge out the next season. I was like, oh my God, we're doing this thing. This is
nice.
incredible. Yes. The money wasn't great. Like 2 cats doesn't really pay for itself. So we expanded to, we built 7 timber frame chalets next to the lodge.
So how many years into this are you before you get to, the lodge is fully booked this year?
We're 7 years into it.
Wow.
And my partner, Rob, was like, we got to expand. We brought on another partner, Henry Fisher, unbelievable man who helped me so much with construction. He's built a lot of houses, Hood River guy, great mentor. Henry was unbelievable. And these guys start helping me. And then one by one, like Eric Ladd comes on, puts in $100,000. He was the director of sales at Yellowstone Club. Great network, great guy. Lanny Andrews, one of our customers, he's a doctor, put in $100,000. I started getting all these people putting in 100 here, 100 there. It's like, oh my God, this is happening. We build out these 7 timber frame chalets, put a roof over all the ATCO trailers so we didn't have to shovel the roofs anymore. And we keep selling the place out, 2006, 2007, all the way up till 2012. We are killing it. We're full. And my snowboarding dream is like, we are the place for snowboarders to come. Paula and I obviously got married. We have 2 children at this point. She's pregnant again. She said she wanted to have a third. It ended up being twins. We're cranking along. Travis Rice, greatest snowboarder in the world, starts showing up, tells me he has this idea to do a competition. I start working with him on that. Teton Gravity Research shows up, asks me if I'm interested in building the biggest gap jump in the history of the world for Sage Abreda Calosa and a couple of the TGR athletes. Unbelievable. Things are going crazy. The goddamn Canucks are in the playoffs, if you can believe that. We're all up there building the biggest gap jump ever built. And slowly we start hearing these loud cracking noises, like explosions. It had been a crazy spring. We had 42 feet of snow on the roof. We started shoveling the roof off, and the roof collapsed, and the entire lodge was destroyed, full right off. Now, not the timber frame, not the chalets, but the sleeping accommodation part. It's Mother's Day. We had just had twins. I got Travis on one side, Todd Jones from TGR on the other side. And I'm like, dude, it's game over. Like, we can't design and build a lodge from, the end of May to open in December. And both of them were like, you got to do it. I'm like, I can't. And Travis looks at me. I don't know if you know much about Travis, but he has a very intense look on his face when he wants it. And he like stuck his jaw out. He's like, you're going to do it. You're the guy to do it. And then Todd Jones was like, you got to do it, man. You guys have accomplished so much. You can't quit right now. And we dug in, and my local contractor, Terry Maglio, an amazing guy, me and everybody, this whole town was like, save Baldface. And we ended up building that lodge that you stayed in. And we got it open in time to host the first Supernatural, Travis's groundbreaking contest. And TGR, we filmed that part. I just wouldn't let him film the collapsed lodge when he was up there.
Right.
Put them all up in the cabins, and like we made hamburgers on a barbecue every night, and we did it. And we got that thing built, and it's still there today. So, that's the story up to, where the lodge is now, except for if I go back, and you were talking about mentors, back when Craig was around, he brought me over to Island Lake to see how the operation worked. And while I was over there, I met a guy named Dan Reiner, who was an investor at Island Lake and lives north of Spokane. And Craig told me, he goes, I doubt Dan would ever invest with a guy like you, but he is one of the smartest guys I've ever met. And to be in relationship with him will make you a great businessman. You should call him all the time and talk to him about things. So I did. And Dan and I became really good friends. He was about 20 years older than me, had hit a bunch of home runs as an entrepreneur, a lovely guy. And funny enough, my grandpa's name was Dan. My dad's name was Dan. And my brother's name is Dan. And then my mentor, his name was Dan.
That's awesome.
Dan was from Detroit, self-made man, son of immigrants, did very, very well for himself, was a shrewd businessman, and helped me with so much when it was like, oh, what's a personal guarantee, on loans, all this stuff. And when I was signing these deals with these partners, he was like, watch out for this and do it like this. He was just awesome. So one day he's getting hit up to invest in a ski business, and he invited me to come down and take a look at it. And we looked at it, and he goes, it was the Summit Club down at Powder Mountain down there.
Oh, yeah.
And we went and we looked, and then he looked at me, and we were having lunch up there. He goes, what do you think? And I was like, I don't know, Dan, it seems kind of pretentious and wonky for a guy like you. Like, these guys have I'm swearing. I'm like, these guys have tweed jackets with suede patches on the elbows, and they're wearing turtlenecks, man. It doesn't seem like you. I don't know. And he goes, why don't I just take the money they're asking me for, and I'll invest it with you? And I was like,
nice.
Oh my God. So he said, you got to go to all your partners, 100% of your partners, and you got to work a deal to buy them all out, so that if you see them in the airport or they come up, they give you a big hug and they're really happy. But if you tell them you're going to spend my money irresponsibly, I'm not going to do it. He goes, you got 1 month. I was like, fuck. And so I had to have some really hard conversations with some people I really love and really supported me the whole time to negotiate a fair buyout, but not a penny more than fair,
Yep.
And I did it. And Dan became my partner. And Dan, it was like going and getting an MBA from the school of Dan Reiner. It was amazing. And he was very hard on me, to be clear.
This was right after the lodge collapse, or when's this?
Yeah, this was shortly after the lodge collapse. This would have been 2017. He came in and negotiated that.
Okay.
And then Dan became my partner in 2017, and his son, Andy. And I just don't have enough words for all my partners who are so great, like, in helping me build this thing. But ultimately, Dan became my single partner. We kept Olivia, Craig's daughter, on. He had a little stake in the company. We let that stay. And we bought everybody out. And it was really hard, man, but it was really necessary as well. And then Dan started like helping us financially with some things, giving us some loans. Always, Dan won every time. I'll tell you that. Dan won every time, but he put the money in when we needed it, but he won every time. But I won too, because it helped us get it further down the line. We ended up having a really fair, awesome agreement between the two of us, because although what I didn't realize at the time was I went from being majority owner of the company to becoming minority owner in the company when he consolidated all the partners. And I didn't really realize how stupid that was till a few years later, and how shrewd he was to do it. And I brought it up with him, and he was like, I'm never letting you I don't own anything that I'm not the majority owner in. That's how it
Mm,
works. You want to swim with the big fishes? That's how it works. I'm never
mm.
giving that up. But we ended up with a really, really fair negotiation because Dan loves me and my family. He loved my story. He loves my kids. Love, 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 true love. And we ended up with a really fair agreement on how we share free cash flow in the company. So while I'm not an owner, I'm very fairly compensated,
Yeah, that works.
which is awesome. And he's like, hey, man, if your kids need to go to college, one of your kids gets into Harvard, we're taking care of it. Don't worry. You get sick, your wife gets sick, we're taking care of it. It's a priority for the company. It's a priority for your partner. You've done a great job. Don't worry about it. The equity part, you'll always be taken care of. So we wrote it out, and I learned a lot in that process as well. Dan passed away last year in September, and it was it's been really hard. I really miss him as my mentor, and you can't just pick another mentor. And slowly, I've been losing a lot of people in my life in my 50s who I've really leaned on, and now I'm also realizing I got a lot of people that are leaning on me for good advice.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been
Yeah.
this really cool transition over the last year of me learning how to help other people that are in the positions I was in coming up and share what I've learned with them. And I really am coming into a new version of myself right now, thanks to guys like Henry and Rob and Dan and Eric Ladd and Terry Magler. I mean, I have a list. I really do, of these people who have helped me along the way.
Navigating all that on the capital side, I have to imagine that there's more than a handful of uh, gifted athletes who love the outdoors and love the backcountry, who are also savvy, if not shrewd, businessmen who might have approached you with
Oh, yeah.
deals that were less than advantageous. I wonder what you've had to avoid to get here, because there had to have been some landmines that people were putting around you as far as like all options for financing that may not have played out well. I mean, you've made it through, which is
Yeah.
impressive. This is not easy. Like 25 years of bootstrapping something to actually have an iconic, thriving enterprise with 16 or 14 weeks of operating revenue.
Mhm.
Like,
And we bought another operation, and we've scaled that up, and we're getting ready to start this summer. We're starting to build a lodge and stuff over there too. So we're gonna
that's Valhalla.
we're gonna build another lodge over at Valhalla. We've scaled that from kind of 2 cats running maybe 8 to 10 weeks to 3 cats running 14 weeks as a day operation, and we're gonna really improve that day operation side significantly this year, and then we're gonna start building a lodge. It's gonna be different than Baldface, but yeah, we're working on the next one pretty full time right now, and Baldface has got some great managers in there, and I'm learning how to just say less and allow great people to do their jobs up there. And it's a little heartbreaking because it's like being a dad. This is my first child, or me and Paula's first child, and our actual first child, Estelle, is 22 now. Baldface is 26, and they get to the point where they just
Don't need you.
yeah, and it should be a great feeling, but it is a bit melancholy because I love it, But
Yeah.
as I step away from Baldface, I'm so proud I got employees that have been there 20 plus years, and they're the
Yeah.
ones that are running it, and they should be running it, and it's really cool.
What about those capital pitfalls or potential pitfalls? Did you have people try to ensnare you with like, hey, I'll make you a loan for 22% interest? And
All the time.
yeah.
Luckily I had Dan and Henry just definitely, keeping me real. And I I reinvested everything I ever made into Baldface so that I didn't step in any of those bear traps.
Yeah.
And I think as an entrepreneur, if you're not willing to go all in, and I mean like all in, you're not a real entrepreneur. So if you're taking those deals, you're taking them at your own demise. And I think I've read enough, and I'm savvy enough through my grind coming from Cleveland, being a guy who repairs people's gutters. You know what I mean? Like coming up as a snowboarder, I'll hear anything out, but I have invested wisely in my own circle. One of my mentors is a guy named Joe Hussein, who started IntraWest over in Whistler.
Yep.
Joe is a Xerox copy machine repairman. You should get him on your podcast sometime. He is phenomenal human being. His story is unreal. And he told me one time, because I was like, oh, I got this great deal and I could buy this lodge. And Joe was like, listen, man, as you get successful, you got to stop riding the bus. And you get off and you sit at the bus stop, and there's just a bus that comes by every 5 minutes.
Uh-huh.
Don't jump on the first bus that comes by and not look at the destination, whatever. He goes, let a few buses go by and then wait for the bus that's going where you want it to go. But don't just be jumping on buses all the time. He's like, that's not being an entrepreneur, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember these little things that my mentors have taught me over the years. And they're really valid, man. The guys who make it for a reason. And usually they say a lot with a few words. And if you're not too egotistical, you get the opportunity to hear those things. Because while I'm on a podcast and I'm sitting here talking about myself, and it feels quite good to just blah out, my strategy is I'm surrounded by the smartest people in the world with my customers. And I don't really want to tell my story over and over again. I want to ask them their stories. And I sit at that bar and I sit in that cat and I am just a sponge. I learn so many cool stories from so many cool people. And obviously at Baldface, you're the best version of yourself.
Yep.
And it's like, for me, that's my favorite part. I've ridden more powder than most people will ever even see in their life.
Uh-huh.
But I sit at that bar, I sit in that cat, and every trip I get a new chapter to relish, you know? It's so cool.
That's an incredible resource.
Yeah.
The comment you made on All In, right? And it's funny because there's another huge podcast called All In, and I wonder, nature, nurture, genetics, like, what do you think it is that makes some people, like, it's an inevitability. It's a binary thing. Like, I don't know you well, but like, I can get from you that like you're all in, and you probably have been all in for, maybe save the event with Craig. You've probably been all in all the time. Like,
Yeah.
why do you think some people can portray that almost like they don't have the option? And then there's so many other people that they'll aspire to it, but when like push comes to shove, they're out.
Yeah, it's a great question. I would put it like this. Like, when I went all in and I was like mortgaging, selling everything I own, doing all this stuff. Think of it like I tied a cinder block around my neck, jumped in off a 2-story pier, and on the way into the water said, I think this is a great time to learn how to swim. So I spent 20 years bouncing off the bottom and getting just high enough to get a sip of air and then going back down. And over the course of time, I've learned I didn't need to swim. I needed to learn how to untie knots underwater.
Yeah. Wow.
So I think all in can also mean you're oblivious to what you're getting yourself into, and you're just too stubborn to drown. And that's not admirable, or that's not a testament to my character. That's a testament to, like, I just didn't want to drown, you know? I don't believe in reincarnation enough to just give up. You know what I mean? So there's that side. And then the other side is like, I grew up in Cleveland and my parents are amazingly awesome people. I've got brothers and sisters, and they went through a lot of struggles, you know, to get to where they're at or where they were at. And I saw it. And growing up in Cleveland in the 80s, it was like we lived suburbia full on. My dad was great. We didn't grow up like, you know, wanting for a lot. But man, there was a lot of hard times in that era. And I got out and I begged my dad to leave. And I got to go to this school called Proctor in New Hampshire instead of going to college. And then I had to go to college after that. And I think just like I learned how to fight with that Midwestern work ethic that just honestly, I can see it a mile away, but it's less and less all the time. And I think when you're from a place like Cleveland and you honestly believe that the Browns are going to win the Super Bowl every year, and they never do, and you honestly think the Indians are going to take it and then the Cubs beat them, and it's just like, time after time after time, again, Cleveland is the place where Lucy pulls the football out from underneath you. But
Uh-huh.
you just keep doing it. It's something about all the heavy metals in the water or something. I don't know. Acid rain got us. But I respect that Midwestern grind, and there's not a lot of places that you see it. Maybe like Ukraine or something. It's weird. So I think a combination of those two things. I just got in over my head. I got in because I loved Paula. This story is a love story first and foremost.
Oh, wow.
And I just love her so much. And I loved her from the second that I met her. And I would cut off my leg to keep chasing her. Even after this is like our 29th year together. I still am that same thing. I really believe in it. So I believe that when you're in love with someone and you're in love with a person, the worst case scenario is I got Paula. I lose everything tomorrow. I still got the girl of my dreams, and she loves me and I love her. It's amazing.
And so this was an opportunity to create a thing
Yes.
for you two to be together in the place that she called home.
Yep.
Wow.
100%.
Wow.
That's the secret sauce, I think.
That's awesome.
And it has not been easy at Baldface, and it has not been easy in my marriage either. Marriage is hard. And along the same lines, a lot of people throw in the towel, but we never threw in the towel. We've made it. And how do you explain that to someone who's going through a divorce? I understand how hard that is. And I get it. I totally get it. There's no judgment. I just have never quit.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how to tell someone else how to do that. It's just, I didn't do it. We didn't do it. And it's the same with the business.
But let's talk a little bit about the team. My wife as I've been able to find a little bit more success in my career, has sort of upgraded our hospitality options. We'll end up at nice hotels, and I always feel welcome, but like, let's just take a Ritz-Carlton. Cool. It's really not my vibe. I appreciate it. I appreciate the execution and the training and the culture and the experience of being in those places and how consistent it is across the flag and all that sort of stuff. But it's not like, I'm not like, I love the Ritz-Carlton.
Right.
But I go to Baldface, and I feel like for a boutique operation, the consistency of the experience from all of the staff in whatever sort of interaction you have, for some reason, just way more grounded and kind of authentic. I don't know if that's because I'm just super stoked because I've been riding POW all day, but I feel like you guys have got, I found myself really authentically thanking the people who were serving me soup at the end of the bar.
The soup
And
the soup is really good up there. For sure.
yeah, but like, how do you think about that part of the experience? I don't think it's a mistake. In fact, I look at the entirety of that lodge, and you can see year after year the little evolutionary things that, like actually the end of the bar where the soup is served. I bet when you first built that lodge, you didn't have the little 90 return there where the soup and the coffee lives, but after a while you're like, let's build this thing on the end. And you can see that kind of all over the place. But the people, and if you will, the culture and the experience of your team, it's part of what makes that experience exceptional. How do you think about recruiting people, finding the right people, building that vibe, preserving that vibe? That whole thing.
The first part is I didn't always do it right. I have really high standards and a really clear vision of what I want up there. And in the early days, we partied a lot up there. And alcohol was a big part of the equation, and getting really, really drunk in the evenings and letting the customers get really drunk. And my philosophy was what a great place. You're not driving drunk. You're not cheating on your wife. Nobody's doing anything they really regret. What a great place to just dive in and, shotgun beers and all that stuff. And trust me, that stuff still happens up there. But there was kind of a moment where I was like, this really isn't good for my team, my staff. Once you've hired people for 5 years and you realize these are the guys who could drink really hard and they're doing it every night. These are the guys who aren't. And you see the cumulative effect. And I saw it on myself. I kind of had to make some changes to the way that I really thought about the staff and the people, because we live in this small town together. And, first, Nelson is just an incredible town. It attracts incredible people. So we're hiring from a great pool. But second, something changed year 7 or 8 where I was like, I kind of stopped thinking of myself as the boss and started to think of them as the boss,
Mm.
and I remember firing a couple people because they were doing some things that was like just not okay with me. And I was kind of a dick firing them, it wasn't like a real good feeling. And I'd walk around town and I'd like go to the other side of the street when I saw these people that I let go. And it wasn't because they did something wrong. It was because of the way that I ended the relationship. So I made a conscious change. When I hire people now and when I have to have hard talks, I remind them, like, my commitment to you is that, and I learned this from John at Oso Negro, that coffee shop, but I'm like, I know these relationships are going to end. This is a backcountry ski lodge. Some will carry on for a very long time, but they're all going to end. And the day it ends, I'm committed to ending it really good. So if you want to go to school after working at Baldface, I'm going to help you get to school. I'll help you with your first month's rent. If you're having a baby, I'm there to help you. I'll hold that damn baby. I love babies. You know what I mean? Like, I want them to know that when the day comes, it's going to be a good day. It's not going to be a super sad day. Let's make it a great day. And having that philosophy and articulating that philosophy in the hiring as we move through things, when things get really sticky, I'll say, it's time for us to end the relationship. How do we end it really good? What do
That's
I
cool.
have to do to end it good? And I think them knowing that I'm really committed to that, we really, now as our staff is aging, I'm like starting to talk to the guides about their retirement plans. And for a lot of guys that work like carpentry in the summer and their guides in the winter, their plan is to work till the day they die.
Mhm.
And with Alex, our CFO, we've been saying, like, why don't we start doing some matching contributions to your retirement fund? And they're like, I don't have a retirement fund. And we're like, cool. Let's get you set up with a retirement fund. Let's get you onto Wealth Simple so you can manage your own fund or have it managed. And we've really been trying hard to encourage our staff to start preparing for what happens after Baldface. And I think that's a little bit of a rarity in the heli and cat world. And I
For
think
sure.
word starts getting out that we're really trying, and other operations are calling us to ask us how we're doing that. And I really share it as much as I can. We just hosted a whole thing with HeliCat and guides. Cause I'm like, when I lived through financial scarcity, it was terrifying.
Mm.
Like, it's really hard, and you take stress, and people talk about politics and relationships and all these things. But at the end of the day, if you're worried about how you're feeding your kids or paying your mortgage or all these things, that's a stress that is so awful, and I'm really trying to alleviate that stress with my staff as much as I humanly can. And I think if more employers were to take the time to be like, I mean, trust me, I did not make money on this business for the first 17 years, and I paid them all before I paid myself. I was taking loans to pay them with my name on them, right?
Mhm.
I know what it is. And when it's time for me to come up, which has been happening in the last 2-3 years, I'm like, wow, I'm saving for my own retirement. This feels really good. My kids are getting college age. I'm going to be able to send them to college. Like, all these things feel great for me, but I know that I'm kind of the caboose of that train. And I think that's what it is to run a successful business, is to make sure your staff is doing good first. And then you're doing good because of that, not the other way around.
For sure. Yeah. And what about the vibe, though? Is that accidental, or am I misreading
Yeah,
it?
I mean, I have certain rules up there, right? Like, obviously, the first rule is you're never allowed to play Journey in the lodge. That's rule number
I've heard
one.
about that.
Yeah. So no Journey. The second rule is we don't lie to each other up there. You tell the hard truth the first time. If you screw up, just come and tell us you screw up. Then we move ahead. We just don't play games with things up there. We're all very honest with each other. Somebody's pissing you off. You go up to them and you're like, you're leaving the bathroom a mess every time, and I got to use it after you. You got to go clean it. Go talk to the person. Don't talk to the manager about stuff like that. See if you can resolve it yourself, because we're a family up there. Like, we literally share the same toilets every day. It's like if you
Yeah.
get those little things right with the staff,
Yeah.
you know, and we rehearse that stuff, we practice it, we script it in the training, you know, uh, we're just good to each other. And when somebody's not good, I get rid of them really fast.
And was that the third rule, which is just have the hard conversation? Like, no
Yeah.
journey, don't lie. And what was number 3?
There's some rules about relationships at the lodge and about choices that people make that I don't know that I want to articulate on a podcast.
Fair enough.
But there's some rules about that. Like here, the one rule is summed up as this: if it's happening in the laundry room at midnight, that's not love.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
go to town,
Yeah.
let it simmer, go on a nice date in town, have your fling. But, the lodge is not for that. I want all the girls to feel really safe up there. I want everyone to feel like brother and sister up there. And I think what you're saying is an articulation of that. There's much more a vibe that the staff is having a great time up there doing their work and that they're all well supported and you're joining in. They're not really there trying to serve you and put on airs like the Ritz-Carlton. You're showing up and you're like, I can't believe I'm a part of this whole vibe.
Yes.
So I'm making sure that there's plenty of soup for the staff. When we do staff meals, a lot of times the customers, I shouldn't be saying this on the podcast, but they're like, wait, what are you guys eating on the staff meal tonight? We just can't eat that super rich, huge food that you guys eat every night. So we get like these crazy, awesome. I have a second chef up there that just cooks for the staff.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
And the food is phenomenal, and we do fun things. Like sometimes the staff gets to go into the kitchen and help prepare, and you're eating what the massage therapist's mom used to make all the time. Colin's mom's lasagna is one of the most popular things, so, we try to really foster that, and we try to look at it like if the staff they work 7 days on, 7 days off. And the idea is on your last day, you should be looking forward to going to town, going to Whitewater, shredding, shopping for your friends, seeing your girl, whatever it is. But on day 7 in town, you should be really stoked to get on that helicopter, go back up to the lodge and tell everyone what you did on your days off and this and that. And I think we accomplished that. And that makes it really fun for the guests to come up,
Yeah. You've put out a bunch of names. I haven't kept track of all of them, but one of them was the gentleman who said, hey, like, you got to get off the bus, and then why don't you just stand and watch the buses come before you hop.
Joe Hussein, legend.
Oh, the Intro West guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I will reach out to them. I know a bit of the company story there, but that ties into managing success, right? And it's a Tim Ferriss podcast I always draw on because I first heard this analogy, I think, through him, which is, you're out on a desert island. You're the 26-year-old. Hey, I've been a distributor of snowboards. I have some brand affiliations. I'm triple levered on my house, and you're putting messages in the glass bottles, and you're sending them out from your deserted desert island, hoping to get some feedback back. And then at some point, the tide turns, and there's a ton of messages coming in. And there's a lot of opportunity because you've hit an inflection point, and you actually mentioned it, right? And you're starting to feel like maybe you are becoming the mentor to a bunch of other people. But how have you managed that transition from just scrapping by to now, I suspect, hey, Jeff, we'd like to get you involved in this. Hey, Jeff, can I get you in that? Hey, Jeff, can I get you in that?
Yeah.
And it might be too much, too many opportunities, too many invitations.
Were you at my house this morning for breakfast? That is literally what Paula and I were talking about, because I'm going over to Whistler next week to go look at a cool opportunity or not. I don't know. You were talking about entrepreneurialism earlier and what is it? And so Paula's a therapist, and she likes to throw a lot of diagnoses around that I need to look up on Google afterwards. And I think entrepreneurialism could be classified as a mental illness, like autism is a mental illness, but it's not. It's a superpower. And I believe deep down inside that I just love the grind. I love I love looking at P&Ls, balance sheets, and income statements. I love looking for ways to improve systems. I used to read a lot of fiction. I read all history, and I read a lot of business books right now. Like I said, sitting at the bar, I love grinding on ideas with entrepreneurs. So I'm honored when my phone rings and I get to talk to somebody about an idea they have. I have a guy who's my old boss, who's selling ice now. He's got an ice company. It is the most interesting business plan I've read. And it's like so cool to see that people are like reimagining like ice, still
Uh,
not ice like America, Los Angeles ice. I mean like the cold
right.
cube you put in a scotch. But I just love it. I love it. I'm honored by it. I'm not overwhelmed at all. I think it's so cool. And I got no problem saying no to things. But usually, much like saying it's the end of the relationship, how do we end it well? I don't say no and make anybody feel bad about it. I say no, it's not right for me right now. Maybe these are the three things I'd want to see, you know. Um, but I'm not quite to the point where I'm liquid enough to start investing in all sorts of things. I'm at the point where I'm topping up my retirement, getting my kids into college. Still, hey, believe it or not, I'm still paying off mortgages right now. I'm not quite in the no mortgage zone, but I'm close. I'm getting,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I think I'm 56 now. I started this when I was 26. And I think as I reach 60, my personal plan is to start pulling back from the day to day and put myself in a position where I can find the next version of me at that age and invest and mentor and enjoy what I got to see Dan and Henry doing for me. And I really am looking forward to that part of my life.
Either through yourself or through your clientele, because these places self-select into um, a pretty interesting cross section. It's funny, I grew up in Colorado, and the fact that I'm able to do these things now is kind of awesome. Because I remember, like I have $20 for the week or something, and I'm just going to drive up to the ski area and ski whatever's there. So to be able to sort of pony up for the tuition, if you will, to get to a Baldface or any of those other places, you tend to be with a certain kind of customer who's got some discretionary capital, and they're not going to sweat that kind of admission ticket to go have 3 or 4 days of fun, which is to say they're generally wealthy. I wonder how you think about wealth and its utility. Like, I totally relate to what you're saying when you're under pressure and it's literally paycheck to paycheck. Like, I need to make enough to eat, and then maybe I can pay rent. I've been on that side of the equation as well, but there's a certain point where you break over, and maybe it's just a little bit of leftover. Maybe it's more, and certainly your clients, some of them have a lot more left over. What do you think the utility of wealth is? And I know that's a pretty esoteric question, but
It's
you
a
seem
great
like
question. Okay, I have two thoughts. One is I went from a guy who had losses every year to write off against any of my income, so tax wasn't really a problem, to being a guy who's like, what? Why am I paying so much taxes every year? This
right,
is what happened in the last 3 years for me. And I've had to come up with a tax strategy and the things that people who are enjoying wealth start to do. This is where I'm at in my life right now. And it's really eye-opening and really kind of sad, to work as hard as I've worked. And then Canada just switched capital gains to 68.5%. And
that's insane.
my thought of exiting by selling Baldface just evaporated, right? I pay over 50% income tax now. And, you really think about it. I've put my entire life into this thing, and I've enjoyed the hard times. I've enjoyed the good times. But in the realm of fairness, it starts getting to feel like I don't want to become a conservative. I'm like an absolute love child hippie, but fuck, stop taking all my money, man,
Uh-huh.
and I worked hard to get to where I'm at, and I'm good to my staff, and I it just starts to feel punitive, like they just tax success. So I understand the frustration that a lot of wealthy people feel when people who aren't maybe digging in as deep or who gave up or whatever say oh, tax the rich, tax the rich. Because I look at the government and I'm like, learn how to run a business.
Totally.
What is wrong with you guys? I'm not your solution. Spend what you earn every year. You run in a deficit and you point your finger at everyone else. You're the problem, not me. So there's that. But then on the other side, you're right. I do have some customers that have enjoyed generational wealth and big, big numbers. And I wonder, would it not be fair to say hey, You're making, you pick the number, $10 billion. That's it. You get to wear a toga. You get a better seat at every restaurant, like you go speak at colleges, but you don't get to make any more than that. There's an end. Like,
Yeah.
that's it. Like, you can only make that much money. And after that, your money's going back to helping people that haven't had a chance to make that money. Generational wealth causes like more problems than it probably alleviates. Maybe there's a number and it's like, that's the end. And if that makes me a communist or a socialist or whatever awful word people are using, fair enough. I also was like, why can't we just come up with like a flat tax for everybody?
Totally.
And if you're under $100,000 a year and it's really hard, great. You don't have to pay taxes, But once you make over a certain amount, everybody pays the same amount. And then look at government and be like, that's what you get.
Yep. Yep.
And so as I'm getting wealthier, these are thoughts that definitely the younger version of myself would not have agreed with.
Yeah.
And I listened to a really great Charlie Munger podcast where he was on that Acquired. I recommend it to everybody. And I need to listen. I was in my car, but he had a one-liner in there about this. And Charlie Munger's part of Berkshire Hathaway. He's just an amazing guy, and he didn't do a lot of podcasts or anything. And this one is 1 hour long. They did a great job. And he says something about, when you're young, you just struggle to understand the rules. When you're old and you make it, you just understand how to make the rules work for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm in that part where I'm like, I'm accepting that, the tax system seems unfair now that I'm making money and all these things. But what I used to think of like they should close all those loopholes are still there. So it's like, all right, maybe I got to start another business so that I can have losses to offset the gains I'm making. You got to play. So that's kind of where I'm at. And I guess that's where a lot of real estate transactions come from and a lot of investments come from. And that's how people invest in companies like Baldface that are willing to lose money for a bunch of years because they got to write off their losses against their gains in other companies. So, I'm at that point now.
You strike me as a pretty soulful person. It's coming across just here in terms of like, picking up signals and treating people well and, holding somebody's baby and trying to make sure they can get into college or, supporting them through childbirth or all of those things.
I would be a doula. I would be a doula if I could redo it. I love that moment when babies come out. It's like a great, you know what I mean? Like in that room.
I do.
Whew, there's a drug that I don't know what that is, but
my wife thinks I was crazy, or I mean, she still thinks I'm crazy. But the day our first was born, which was actually yesterday, 7 years ago, that day, literally, I'm holding her. I was like, "We have to do this again." She's like, "You're crazy."
Yeah, it's good. I'm with you. Yeah.
But on the like your mindset, I wonder on the daily side, in terms of habits, rituals, routines, practices, do you have anything to cultivate a state of readiness or mindfulness or just like habits and routines that you think are valuable in helping you, get through the battle?
Well, this would be the part of the podcast. I'm really glad that Paula never listens to the podcast that I do because she'd be like, "You're so full of shit." But I would say like, I think it's, I wake up and I try to just make some space in my mind and not let it flood, with all the things coming up. I don't look at my calendar when I wake up or anything. I really enjoy a good espresso, like it's one of the things at the lodge, like
They are good.
I need that hit in the morning. When I fish, I bring an espresso machine. Like, I'm like, okay, we started off right. And when I feel that like sweat come on the corner of my brows and I'm like feeling the espresso come on, I breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. I'm not like looking at my phone while I'm drinking my espresso. I'm like in the espresso meditation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful in that moment that I'm at a point in my life where I'm not rushing out the door. I didn't manage myself right, whatever. I have 15, 20 minutes every morning to enjoy that first espresso. And that's religion to me. And then midday, I have another hack. I like to call it the Nappuccino. I do it at the lodge. So like 2:00, because I'm getting older, right? And I'm pretty active. So like 2:00, if I'm feeling a little draggy, I smash a double, no cream, double espresso. I got a green couch. I lay down on that green couch. I fall asleep. 20 minutes later, I wake up ready to take on the world. The
Oh, you make the double shot, then take the nap.
Yeah, Nappuccino.
Cappuccino, solid.
The espresso wakes me up. So those are little routines. And then Paula got me into breathing. I do breathing and meditation. I can't do it every day or I won't stay consistent, but I'd say probably 10 to 15 days a month. I do about a 30-minute guided meditation that it involves a lot of breath holding. So I'll hold my breath for up to 3.5 minutes while I'm doing these meditations. And God, it's like medicine. It's awesome.
There's a lot of different modalities. Wim Hof got pretty popular. Is it
Yeah,
that
it's kind of like Wim Hof, but the guy I use, his name is Dirk Terpsson, and he's a Swedish guy, and he's got a really funny accent, and he's really like kind about everything, and he just leads you through this meditation that is just so good. And he says things like, you can do it because you are the change that you want to become. You're like, oh, thanks, Dirk. I am the change. It's great. I love Dirk Terpsson. But yeah, I mean, whatever it is, man, I can do it without a recording on or anything. But I think taking those moments when you feel you have those moments are just like so good.
So what do you see? And thank you for that. I love all of those things, and I'm very similar on meditation. I'd like to do it daily, but it doesn't happen. Sam Harris is my go-to guy. The waking up, yeah, it's great. You just mentioned Valhalla as sort of potentially Baldface 2.0. You're building a lodge up there. What's on the horizon? What's coming?
So we just bought 2 lots over there. We just bought 3 acres at the bottom and then a 4-plex. We're building a cat barn on those that is also going to serve as a greeting out in the valley. And then some staff will live in that 4-plex. We're going to do breakfast sandwiches, lunches, and soup and bread at the end of the day over there. That'll be a big upgrade this year. And then we have a approved lodge site now up at about 7,200 feet on a beautiful lake called Sangrita Lake. And I'm going to work eventually, hopefully, with an architect, Skylab Architecture, Jeff Covell. We're going to build a very, very bougie, high-end European refugio-style lodge up in the Alpine. I've partnered with the North Face now with the brands, and I think the North Face is going to get involved with it. And we're going to do a pretty rad Baldface 2.0, but it's going to be much less timber framey because everything has to be helied in or driven up in the winter. So this is going to be much more steel, concrete, mixed on site, backcountry lodge style. And it's going to be pretty incredible. If you're a snowboarder or you care to see a guy named Torstein Horgmo, he's one of my favorite snowboarders, top guy. We built some jumps for him last year, and he filmed a project called Return that you can see on YouTube. And that is the location where we're going to be building the lodge, where we built those jumps.
I should have brought this up earlier, but I got to jump on it now that you're bringing it up. I don't have a lot of heli experience. I've skied a lot. I've snowboarded for a short period of time. And back then, my feet were too big. So I'd always have heel and toe slides drag, and it was just ridiculous. So I stopped. But the Rubies is one place I've gone a few times, and you fly up in there and it's freaking insane. And the terrain is mental. And then they put you on like and I love those guys. So if they hear this, a lot of respect for them and their family operation, but they put you in the valley floor, and it's super fun. The snow quality is great, and they also have intercontinental snowpack, so it's a little sketch. And I get the snow safety. I've always come home, so hey, props to them. They've got a great safety record. And my first trip up to you guys, I got a day because COVID shut us down, and you had to run everybody out thanks to the prime minister.
Yeah.
And then last year was the second time I've been, and I, kind of was just like, yeah, it's just skiing. Like I'll be fine. We were a little earlier in the year. I think it was January, and Walrus was our guide, and the stuff they put us on, I was like, wait, like this is like way bigger than I anticipated. And I think for the guys that have gone for years and years, because I know that's kind of how it goes. Like I got to be, the 12th slot on a cat that's been running the same week for years. And everybody kind of knows the place, and clearly the guides do. I can't be the only person that has said this to you, but I was surprised at the magnitude of some of the stuff that we were put on. Just like, no, this is the line, and oh, really? Like I ski Kirkwood, and I would say it's like the A lines at Kirkwood that I generally would avoid is kind of where we were being put. Like, no, this is the line, and it was all great and it was all super skiable, but I was just like kind of surprised. I wonder how you guys think about it. I mean, look, net a huge win. I was super stoked. It was way more challenging than I thought, and it was fully approachable, but it just put me in a place that was at a amplitude that I didn't anticipate. How do you guys think about that? The experience and the terrain and like where you put people.
Um, I don't think about it actually all that all that much. I mean, listen, I am an entrepreneur in the hospitality space, and I am touchy-feely in that way. And I made a conscious decision to not continue and complete my guiding tickets.
Yeah.
Um, that guy, the Walrus, started as the first dishwasher at the lodge.
Awesome.
And he is a wonderful soul. And he's been with us literally since day one with the lodge.
Wow.
And I've watched him evolve into a tail gunner. And he was a tail gunner for so long that we were finally like, dude, you have to go get your ticket. Right. And he's a carpenter. He's built half of the things that you see up there. And he's held every one of my kids the day they were born. And he's one of many that are like that up there. And that guy literally knows what's behind every tree in that 32,000 acres.
That's right.
And if Mark says, I'm taking these guys on this line, I have zero hesitation that it's the right call at the right time at the right place. I don't play that game with the guides. They train extensively. Luckily, one of the things at Baldface that I think makes us a bit unique is the guides don't work anywhere else. They work 7 days at Baldface. They go down for 7 days. They come up for 7 days. Couple of them will go work at Valhalla here and there because I'm trying to integrate some cultural features. And Walrus is one of them. Brad's another one of them. Joel's another one of them. And so those guys, their head is so in the snowpack. And they know if there's a little warm cell that comes through and leaves a little zipper crust on the southwest in the afternoon and then it snows 20 centimeters on it, they know. They're not showing up to any surprises up there. They've done such a good job of communicating the way there's a guide meeting in the morning, guide meeting in the afternoon. There's nonverbal communication in the guide room. They go have beers with each other in town when they're not on shift. And if you've ever hung out with guides, it's super annoying because all they do is talk about the snow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And in such epic detail, and I love them for it. But as far as like what terrain you're getting on, and is it too gnarly or is it not gnarly or whatever, like, hey man, I'm going to make sure the soup's good. I'm going to make sure you got great sheets on your bed. I'm going to make sure those guides have every tool they need to do their job. But far be it from me to start telling guides how to do their job. And I think
and look, at the end of it, that was my experience. I realized it with all the other crew. They knew that they could trust the guide. For me, it was just like on the first go, I was like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Like, that's where we're going?
Hell yeah.
And look, it's a compliment. It was fantastic.
Oh,
it was great.
I love the terrain over there. Hats off to Craig Kelly and Buff because they saw it. And it is just gnarly enough without being too gnarly. Now you go over to Valhalla, and hopefully you do, and it's the next step up.
Yeah.
Valhalla has a bunch of spots that are like, oh, no go. You can't go there. Baldface has a self-regulation to it that is literally amazing. That we don't glade any of those trees. Like it is perfect from the top to the bottom. It's very steep, but not too steep. There's no flats that snowboarders can't get across. It is like Baldface is an anomaly. It's incredible for that. But Valhalla goes to the next level, and the guides of Valhalla have to have another level to them as far as like there's whole zones over there that are crazy dangerous. So we're glading over there to open up more terrain that's like Baldface. We're doing more cat roads to access mellower terrain over there. And then when it's game on over there, we will literally scare you out of your boots safely. Safely.
Yeah.
And that's why there'll be nice little partner operations, you know? And then when we do open that lodge, I think it is going to suck some of the guests away from Baldface and make some much needed availability over there as people discover how rad Valhalla is. Because a lot of people just don't want to do the drive and the day in and out. It's a long day at Valhalla right now.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Jeff, you've been super generous with your time. Any message you want to send to the entrepreneurs out there, whether it's the 52 or 56-year-old who's, beaten up at the moment, or the 26-year-old version of yourself who's thinking of
it's like this.
going full send?
Listen, like if you think of ski touring or mountain biking uphill as a metaphor, just because you're tired and the sun's starting to get low in the horizon and you're supposed to be home for this thing, it's always worth it to top out. Like, don't stop, because you might just be 4 steps away from topping out. Don't let the world drag you back into the valley till you reach your goal, because it's worth it. It's totally worth it. And that extra little grind is what makes us a special breed. Don't quit. What did I tell? You're not dead till you're dead. Don't be afraid of dying. Go ahead and die, but don't quit because you're afraid of dying. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, I'm not quitting until a lawyer or a judge tells me I have to quit. I'm not quitting because I'm scared. I'm quitting because a judge is like, you're going to go to jail if you keep doing this, because a lawyer's like, a judge is going to tell you this is illegal. But I'm not quitting until somebody else tells me I have to quit.
Yeah, right on, man.
Yeah.
Jeff, thank you for the time. Listeners, thank you for tuning in. Do your subscribe or review. My guys always tell me to do that. Yeah. And Jeff, thanks again. I appreciate all the time and all the insights. Great stuff.
Totally appreciate the opportunity. Keep up the good work. See you this winter.
Yeah, for sure.